At my promotion ceremony, just as I was awarded Employee of the Year, I spotted my husband kissing my manager in the crowd. When I pulled him aside afterward, he shrugged and said, "You focus too much on success. I found fun somewhere else." I took my award, transferred jobs across the country, and left them jobless and exposed after I reported everything. I used to think success would protect me from pain. That if I worked hard, stayed loyal, climbed the ladder, and kept my head down, life would pay me back. Turns out, life doesn't pay you back. People don't either. Sometimes, the ones closest to you are the ones aiming the knife at your back while smiling to your face. I'm 38 now. This happened last year in Columbus, Ohio. I worked at a logistics company, medium-sized, but fast-growing. I started at the bottom and worked my way up for almost a decade. I was the type of employee who stayed late, came in early, covered for others, hit every deadline. I didn't take long vacations. I didn't gossip. I just kept my head down and did the job. My name started to get known around the company. Not because I kissed anyone's ass, but because I delivered. I trained new hires. I wrote manuals. I fixed broken processes. I even saved the company over $600,000 in logistics costs over 2 years with a better routing model. Management noticed. At home, things weren't as solid. My husband, Dean, was charming but always a little distant. We'd been married 8 years, no kids. We talked about trying, but something always got in the way. Work, stress, timing. Deep down, I think I always knew he felt like I was too much. Too driven, too focused, too serious. He used to joke that I was married to my job. I thought he was just teasing. Then came the promotion ceremony. It was our company's yearly summit, held in a hotel ballroom downtown. They gave out awards to top performers, made big announcements, that kind of thing. I was up for Employee of the Year. I didn't expect to win. I didn't even prepare a speech. I asked Dean to come. He didn't seem thrilled, but I convinced him. I even bought him a new tie. I thought, stupidly, that it might be a proud moment for us as a couple. When they called my name, I froze for a second. I didn't cry. I'm not that kind of person. I smiled, walked to the stage, and took the award. I said something quick, about the team, the company, hard work. Then I looked into the crowd. I was scanning for Dean. I saw him near the back, standing close to a woman. She looked familiar. Tall, red blazer. Blonde hair in a bun. Then she turned her head and smiled at him. Michelle. My manager. And right there, in front of God and everyone, he kissed her. Not on the cheek. Not a hug. Not a mistake. Full on, slow, comfortable kiss. Like they'd done it 100 times. Michelle giggled after. He whispered something in her ear. She put her hand on his chest. My hands were shaking. The plaque in my grip felt like a cinder block. I still don't know how I got through the rest of the event. I smiled, nodded, took pictures. I even stood next to Michelle for a group shot. She didn't look at me once. When it was finally over, I cornered Dean near the drinks. What the hell was that? I hissed. He didn't even try to deny it. He took a sip of his drink, scotch, probably, and said, "You focus too much on success. I found fun somewhere else." Just like that. No emotion. No guilt. Like he was stating a fact. I stood there in total shock. With my manager? He shrugged. She was there. You weren't. You made your choice. I made mine. I walked away before I did something I'd regret. That night, we shared a hotel room. I laid there wide awake while he snored like nothing had happened. My chest hurt. My mind wouldn't stop running. Everything clicked into place. Michelle had always been a little too interested in my personal life. She'd ask how Dean was, if we had plans, if I was working late. I thought she was just friendly. I'd even opened up to her about some of our struggles. Told her Dean felt neglected, that I was trying to find better balance. She'd encouraged me to put work first, he'll understand. What a joke. The next morning, I got up early. Showered. Got dressed. Went down to the business center in the lobby. Logged into my work email. I pulled up every message Michelle had ever sent me that mentioned Dean. Every calendar invite that lined up with nights I worked late. Every accidental message I'd seen pop up on Dean's phone. A while back, I'd seen a flirty message, "Can't wait to sneak another night with you," winking face. He claimed it was a coworker's joke. I didn't press. I'd saved a screenshot anyway. I pulled up his emails. He'd once used my old tablet to log in and never logged out. There were dozens of messages between them. Some just suggestive. Some outright disgusting. And plenty from Michelle's work email. They talked about meeting during team strategy nights. How she loved having him to herself when I was buried in reports. She even used the company card to pay for a fancy dinner with him, claimed it was a client meeting. I printed everything. Email chains. Receipts. Screenshots. I saved copies to a USB. Uploaded them to my personal cloud. Time-stamped. Organized. Sorted by date. Then I emailed HR. I need to speak to someone about a serious misconduct issue involving my manager. They booked a video meeting within 24 hours. In the call, I laid it all out. I didn't mention every personal detail. I didn't cry. I kept it professional. I told them Michelle had been having an inappropriate relationship with someone tied to the company, someone she'd used corporate funds and time to meet. I showed the proof. The emails. The receipts. The company calendar entries. The dinner tabs labeled client development. I said I was concerned about favoritism, ethics violations, and a hostile work environment. They were dead silent for a minute. Then the lead HR rep said, "We'll take it from here." I requested a transfer. Said I didn't feel comfortable staying under Michelle's leadership. Thankfully, the timing was perfect. My promotion included an open director-level role in our Seattle office. I told Dean I was going ahead without him for now. I needed space. I didn't say anything about what I'd done. He nodded. Probably assumed I was still in denial. Maybe he thought I'd come around. He had no idea what was coming. When I landed in Seattle, I started over. New place. New people. New office. I kept my head down and did my job like always. 3 months later, I got the call. Michelle had been fired. Turns out, HR did a deep dive. She'd not only used company time and money to sneak around with Dean. She'd looped him in on an internal pitch project and listed him as a consultant. He had no experience. No credentials. Never showed up for meetings. But she approved payments anyway. Fraud, basically. She was let go with cause. Her name quietly scrubbed from company comms. No reference letter. No send-off. Dean lost whatever freelance work she tried to get him. I heard later he was bouncing between gigs, trying to explain to recruiters why his contracting work had suddenly dried up. And I wasn't done yet. I wrote a post on a popular Reddit thread used by people in our field. Not under my name. Just a story. I told everything. 2 coworkers, one in management, used company time and funds to hide an affair. Consultant got paid under the table. Manager fired. Lives blown up. No names. Just the truth. It exploded. People started guessing who it was. Some figured it out. Someone linked to Michelle's public profiles. She went private. Then disappeared. A few weeks later, I got a message. From Michelle. 3 words. You ruined us. She was wrong. They ruined themselves. I just turned the lights on. After that message from Michelle, I didn't reply. I didn't block her either. I wanted her to see I read it. That I saw it and didn't flinch. Let her sit with that silence. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. About a week later, my younger sister Tasha called me. You need to come home. Now. I hadn't talked to her in weeks. We weren't close growing up. She was wild, emotional, always chasing chaos. I was the steady one. But she sounded shaken. What happened? Mom's in the hospital. She collapsed at work. It's her heart. That hit like a brick. I booked a flight back to Columbus that night. When I got there, Mom was stable, but tired. The doctors said it was stress and exhaustion, mostly. She'd been overworking herself. Said she didn't want to worry me, especially after what I'd been through. What I didn't expect. Dean had visited her at the hospital. Brought flowers. Stayed an hour. Why? To get sympathy? Or maybe to get to me through her? Tasha said he looked sad and tired. That he kept asking about me. I didn't go see him. But I couldn't help it, I looked him up online. His Instagram was gone. LinkedIn profile, wiped. I found a thread in a small Columbus business forum, someone ranting about a fake consultant who scammed a startup out of $5,000. The post got deleted fast, but I recognized the details. That was Dean. So he was desperate. And Michelle? Still off the map. But then something new dropped in my lap. An old coworker, Rachel, messaged me on LinkedIn. You didn't hear it from me, but Michelle's trying to sue. My chest tightened. Sue who? HR. Maybe you too. She's saying the investigation was biased, and someone in the company sabotaged her. I froze. Rachel continued, she's talking to a labor attorney. Said she wants a wrongful termination suit and plans to name certain jealous employees who sent stolen private messages. She meant me. I felt heat rise in my face. I hadn't broken any laws. The messages I showed HR were sent to me, or visible from shared devices. No hacking, no illegal access. Just the truth. But Michelle was spinning it. And the worst part? She had friends. Not many, but enough. Some people at the Columbus office still liked her, or were scared of her. I got a few cold messages from former coworkers. Subtle, vague. One even said, you really couldn't let her be happy? Like I hadn't watched my own husband stick his tongue down her throat while I was being honored for a decade of work. I called the HR rep who handled the original case. Told them what I heard. He sighed. We've heard some rumblings. But we did a full review. Our legal team is confident. If she files anything, it won't go far. But now the silence wasn't enough. Michelle was playing dirty. And she'd underestimated just how much I still had left in me. I wasn't just going to protect myself. I was going to end her. Back in Seattle, I hired a private investigator. Sounds extreme, I know. But I had reasons. Michelle was lying. Painting herself as a victim. And if she tried to drag me into court, I needed to be ready. The PI, an older guy named Ron, started digging. He was good. Quiet. Professional. No drama. Within 2 weeks, he came back with gold. Turns out, Michelle had pulled a similar move at her previous job, before she joined our company. Same pattern, got close to her supervisor, started a personal relationship, then used access to climb. Then, when it went south, she claimed harassment and settled quietly for a severance package. No lawsuit. No court record. Just a quiet exit and NDA. Ron even found the old HR director from that company, retired now. The guy remembered her very well. Said she was dangerous, manipulative, always playing some angle. I couldn't use that in court, but I could use it strategically. I reached out to Michelle directly. Through a lawyer. The message was simple: any further defamation or public statements will result in discovery motions, including investigation into past employment conduct and settlement records. She went silent. No lawsuit ever came. But I wasn't done yet. Michelle had dragged my name through mud, tried to lie her way into a second chance. Dean? He wasn't just a cheater, he helped her. He got paid through her. He was part of the fraud. And I had proof. More than HR ever asked for. My company had dropped it after she was fired. They wanted to move on. But I didn't. So I sent a package. Anonymous. To the IRS. Detailed records. Copies of payments Dean received under the table. Emails discussing how to label the work to avoid any red flags. Expense reports Michelle filed using corporate funds to wine and dine him. You don't have to go to war loud. Sometimes you just drop the right papers in the right mailbox. A few months later, I got another message. Not from Michelle. From Dean. Can we talk? I didn't answer. He tried again. You don't have to destroy me. Please. Still didn't respond. Then one more came: you were right. She used me. She's gone. I have nothing left. That one, I saved. I didn't gloat. I didn't reply. I just smiled. Quietly. He was right about one thing. He had nothing left. And I was just getting started. A few months passed. I kept things quiet on my end. Focused on work. Focused on my mom's recovery. I visited her more often, made sure she took her meds, stopped overworking herself. Our relationship got stronger. Funny how crisis makes you see what actually matters. But something kept gnawing at me. Dean's last message. The way he said, she's gone. I had Ron look into it. He was already paid, and I trusted him. What he found hit harder than I expected. Michelle hadn't just disappeared. She had moved to Pittsburgh. Changed her last name. Started working under a new title, Operations Strategy Consultant. Her LinkedIn was back up with a fake new name, but same face, same photo, same damn fake smile. Even worse? She had landed a contract at a well-known logistics company there. One with ties to my own employer through a national partnership deal. She was trying to work her way back into the industry. I printed the screenshots. Sent a copy to my new director in Seattle. I didn't beg or dramatize, I just stated the facts. Your partner company is onboarding a known ethics violator who misused company funds and falsified documentation at her last job. Let me know if you need the full record. I knew my company didn't want to touch that mess again. But once they saw the old emails, expense reports, and HR findings, they had to act. They forwarded the information directly to the Pittsburgh company's legal team. 2 weeks later, Michelle's name disappeared from the partner site. Poof. Gone again. But then came the part one didn't expect. One day, I get a message from my coworker, John. You might want to check this out. He sends me a link to a Reddit thread in a regional tech forum. Title: Warning. Logistics contractor in Pittsburgh scamming clients, same story, different name? People had caught on. Apparently Michelle, under her new alias, had pitched herself as a high-level strategist, but once she landed work, she underdelivered. Promised full supply chain redesigns, but sent outdated templates. Missed client calls. Claimed to be on-site when she wasn't. Some startups had paid deposits for workshops that never happened. Now, she was being called out publicly. One post included her new photo, and someone commented, "Wait, wasn't she involved in a scandal in Columbus last year?" People were connecting the dots. I didn't post a thing. but I watched the thread grow. It got so bad, someone created a Google Doc with known complaints and patterns. It was spreading. Michelle was done in the industry. Even if she changed her name again, people knew her face now. But just when I thought it was over, something else came crashing into my life. Dean filed for bankruptcy. I didn't care. I assumed it was just the fallout from everything. But then I got a letter in the mail, forwarded from my old address. It was from a law firm. Dean was trying to claim that I owed him spousal support. I nearly choked. He was saying that I'd left him in financial ruin, and that during the marriage, I was the higher earner. That he was emotionally distressed and unable to work due to damage caused by a former spouse's public retaliation. I laughed when I read it. Out loud. But the thing is, in some states, that kind of claim can stick, if they can prove dependency and emotional harm. I called my lawyer. We met, went through the documents, pulled all my old records. We built a timeline. The affair. The job payments. The fraudulent consultant work. The dismissal. The emails. My lawyer said, if this goes to court, it's going to get ugly. But we'll win. And we'll bury him. I said, good. Because I was done playing quiet. Dean wanted to twist the story one more time. Try to flip it so he looked like the victim. Fine. Let's go to court. Let's shine every light. And if he wants the world to see how he was emotionally distressed, we'll show why. We'll drag every email, every dollar, every kiss he planted on my manager in the back of that damn ballroom. He made this mess. I just made sure nobody forgot who spilled the first glass. We went to court in early March. Family court. It wasn't flashy, no cameras or drama, just a plain room, a tired judge, and two lawyers who hated each other's guts. Dean showed up looking like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. Cheap suit. New haircut. No ring. He sat across from me like he didn't even recognize me. Like we hadn't shared 8 years, 2 apartments, a wedding, and 1,000 meals. His lawyer opened the case by saying Dean had suffered immense psychological and financial trauma after being abandoned by his wife, and that I had weaponized corporate power to destroy his livelihood. He said Dean had no income, mounting debts, and no realistic way to recover emotionally or professionally from the damage. My lawyer stood up calm as hell and said, "We have a different story." And then we told it. In full. Every detail. We brought the timeline. The screenshots. The receipts. We brought the proof that Dean had been paid under the table through Michelle's misuse of company funds. That he had received consultant payments while never delivering anything. That Michelle had used corporate cards for dinners, hotels, even a damn couple's spa weekend, all listed as team development. That Dean had benefited from all of it. And when it blew up, instead of facing the consequences, he tried to spin it as abuse. The judge looked over the paperwork for a long time. She didn't say much. At the end of the hearing, she leaned forward and said, "Mr. Hargrove, you're not getting a cent. And if I were you, I'd stay out of courtrooms from now on." Then she turned to me. "Mrs. Weller, I don't usually say this, but thank you for documenting everything. This could have gone very differently if you hadn't." I didn't smile. I just nodded. Because it wasn't over yet. See, before the court date, my lawyer had quietly submitted something else. A fraud complaint tied to Dean's consultant payments and tax filings. The ones Michelle helped him cover up. We sent it to the IRS and the state of Ohio. I never got the full details of what happened after that, but a month later, Ron sent me a news article. Local man facing state audit, possible charges for misreported consulting work. It was Dean. They didn't use his full name, but it was him. Turns out, he hadn't reported most of the consultant money. He didn't know how. He just pocketed the payments. Number 1099s. No receipts. When they audited him, they also opened an inquiry into Michelle's involvement. Her fake name was already known by then, thanks to that Reddit thread and the Pittsburgh incident. She tried to vanish again. But her face was out there. She got blacklisted. Not officially. Just quietly. Emails went unanswered. Contracts revoked. Jobs paused. I heard she was last seen working part-time in a shipping warehouse. No authority. No influence. As for Dean, he filed for Chapter 7. Lost his car. Moved back in with his brother. Someone told me he started bartending under the table for cash. Still blaming me for ruining everything. Maybe I did. But here's what people forget, you can't ruin what was already rotten. You just tear down the walls and let the light in. And me? I stayed in Seattle. I worked hard. Got promoted again, this time to VP of Operations. First woman in the company to do it. I built a life that felt like mine. Not something I built for two while he chipped away at it behind my back. And one day, while cleaning out an old folder on my cloud drive, I found the photo. From the night of the ceremony. The one the company photographer took right after I won. There I was, standing center stage, holding my plaque. And in the back, you could just barely see Dean and Michelle. Kissing. Smiling. Careless. I kept that photo. Not to remember the pain. But to remember the moment I woke up. The moment I stopped shrinking for people who only loved the version of me that was easy to manipulate. They thought they were the storm. But I was the one who hit last. And I never missed.